I just booked a bike ride and in a few minutes, someone will arrive to take me where I need to go. Every day, millions of Indians do the same. The rider who shows up earns only what the platform decides, either a fixed payment per delivery or whatever remains after the platform takes its cut. Some even pay a daily fee just for the ride to work. But here is something most of us should know. The government now plans to extend PF and pension benefits to these workers. It sounds like progress, but the real question is, will it actually reach the person pulling up on that bike right now? We spoke to experts and went on the ground to find out. Hi, this is Abhirami Sekar for TheFederal. India had 7.7 million gig workers in 2020. By 2030, that number is expected to reach 23.5 million. India's Social Security Code was passed in 2020. For the first time, it formally recognized gig workers, delivery partners, cab drivers, home service workers as a separate category entitled to benefits like provident fund, pension, and insurance. The scheme proposes contributions from the center, state governments, platform companies, and the workers themselves. But 6 years later, it is still not operational on the ground. According to a Niti Aayog report, gig workers spans 21 sectors from food delivery and ride hailing to home services, online tutoring, and even data annotation for artificial intelligence. On the ground in Chennai, delivery workers from Swiggy, Zomato, Blinkit, and Big Basket say they don't have major complaints with the platforms.
அந்த சில ஃபெசிலிட்டிலாம் நம்மளுக்கு அந்த கம்ஃபர்டபுளாக இல்லை. இதில் அந்த கம்ஃபர்டபுள் இருக்குது. வேணும் போது ஓட்டிக்கலாம், எனக்கு என் தேவைக்கு ரெஸ்ட் எடுத்துக்கலாம், என் தேவைக்கு நான் என்ன வேணாலும் பர்சனல் ஒர்க்குக்கு என்ன வேணாலும் நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஆன் பண்ணால் லாகின் பண்ணோம்னா எனக்கு ஜாபு, இல்லைனா நம்ம ஆஃப் பண்ணால் நம்மளுக்கு அந்த ப்ரெஷர் கிடையாது. யாரும் நம்மளை ஃபோர்ஸ் பண்ணுறது கிடையாது. இது நீ பண்ணி தான் ஆகணும், ஓட்டி தான் ஆகணும். அப்போ என் கம்ஃபர்டபுளுக்கு நான் வேலை செய்வேன், அவ்வளோதான்.
அதாவது மற்ற பிளாட்ஃபார்மை கம்பேர் பண்ணும்போது ஜொமேட்டோவில் என்ன ஒரு பெனிஃபிட்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, எங்களை ஒரு ரைடராக பார்க்காம ஒரு ஃபேமிலியாக பார்த்து மந்த்லி ஒன்ஸ் மீட்டிங் போடுவாங்க. எங்கள் சிஇஓலேருந்து சிஓஓ எல்லாருமே வருவாங்க. எங்கள் டிஎல்கிட்ட போய் எங்களோட ப்ராப்ளம் வந்து நாங்கள் சொல்லலாம். அந்த பெனிஃபிட் வந்து ஜொமேட்டோவில் இருக்குது.
A full-time delivery worker can earn around 30,000 rupees a month, with some aiming for 60,000 rupees. Many others work part-time in the evenings to supplement their income. We met one such worker, a part-time Big Basket delivery partner who took up gig work because his salary wasn't enough. He met with an accident, was hospitalized, and the insurance he was promised did not cover his expenses.
அது இன்சூரன்ஸ் போட்டுருக்காங்க, அதை எடுத்துக்கலாம். ஆனால் வந்து இன்சூரன்ஸ் பண்ணால் பெரிய ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் போய் அட்மிட் ஆகி அதுலேருந்து கிளைம் பண்ண தான் எடுக்க முடியும். நம்ம தனியாக ஆட் பண்ணி நம்ம தனியாக பண்ணணும்னு வச்சுக்கலாம், அது கிடைக்காது. ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆகி ஒரு ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் போய் அட்மிட் ஆகிடணும், அது உங்கள் லேபர் அதில் பண்ண தான் பண்ண முடியும். நமக்கு சின்ன சின்ன ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆகும். எனக்கு கூட கால் உடஞ்சது, ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் இருந்தேன். இன்சூரன்ஸ் கிளைம் பண்ண வரவே இல்லை. நான் 40,000 செலவு பண்ணேன், 2 வருஷம் ஆகிடுச்சு. கம்பெனிலேருந்து எதுவும் தரல எனக்கு. டெலிவரி பண்ண தான் வரப்போ பொண்ணு வேகமாக பொண்ணு மோதிருச்சு, கால் உடஞ்சிருச்சு. ஜிஹெச்சில் இருந்து ஆப்ரேஷன் பண்ணணுன்னாங்க. அப்புறம் நான் ஊருக்கு போனேன். ஊரில் இருக்கிறப்போ நல்லா பண்ணாங்க, ஆப்ரேஷன் பண்ண எல்லாருமே பண்ணாங்க. ஆனால் எதுவுமே யூஸ் ஆகலை. நான் தான் 40,000 வாங்கி அதுக்கு மாதம் வட்டி கட்டின்னு இருக்கேன். அது இன்சூரன்ஸ் கிளைம் ஆகலை. கிளைம்னா இருக்குது, இன்சூரன்ஸ் இருக்குது. அது என்னென்னா அது ஒரு ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் ஆப்ரேஷன் பண்ணுற மாதிரி ஒரு ஹாஸ்பிட்டலில் போய் உட்காந்துக்கணும். உட்காந்துன்னு அவங்க பில்லு தருவாங்க, இவ்வளோ ஆகணும் இவ்வளோ ஆகும் அப்படிங்கும்போது எஸ்டிமேட் பண்ணுவோம். அதை போட்டால் நமக்கு வரும்.
When we asked him and others about PF, pension or the government scheme, almost none had heard of it.
பெனிஃபிட்ஸ் இருக்குது மேடம். ஹெல்த் இன்சூரன்ஸ் இருக்குது. ஆமாம், ஹெல்த் இன்சூரன்ஸ் ஆக்சிடென்ட்டுக்கு இது கிளைம் பண்ணுறாங்க. ஆக்சிடென்ட்டுக்கு வந்து 10 lakh, இது ஹெல்த்துக்கு வந்து 1 lakh.
இப்போ பென்ஷன் பிஎஃப் தரப்போறதா சொல்லி
இல்லை, எல்லாம் இன்னும் ஏதோ இருப்பாங்க.
That worker is not alone. Millions like him are working without your real safety net.
அதை பற்றிலாம் எதுவும் வரல. கொடுத்தா நல்லாயிருக்கும்.
சரி, அப்படின்னா உங்கள் சம்பளத்தில் பிடிக்கிற மாதிரி
பிடிச்சா கூட பரவாயில்ல. இப்போ இஎஸ்ஐ கொடுத்தா நல்லாயிருக்கும், பெனிஃபிட்டாக இருக்கும். இப்போ நல்லா ஃபேமிலி மாதிரி தான் இஎஸ்ஐ கொடுத்தா, இஎஸ்ஐ மட்டும் கொடுத்தா போதும். ஆனால் அது கொடுப்பாங்களா என்னன்னு தெரியாது, சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஆனால் இது வரையும் கொடுக்கல.
அதான் எதுவும் எடுக்கிறது கிடையாது. டிடிஎஸ் மட்டும் பிடிப்பாங்க வீக்லி, அந்த மாதிரி தான் எங்களுக்கு சேலரி. வேறு பெனிஃபிட் வந்து இல்லை, இது வரைக்கும் எனக்கு எதுவும் ஐடியா இல்லை.
Legal experts say that by removing the employer-employee relationship, the law has left gig workers without meaningful protection. But is the government solution enough?
The legislature categorically wants gig workers and platform workers to stay outside the realm of an employer-employee setup. Now, so virtually speaking, you are on your own. And the moment this goes away, you are treated as an independent contractor vis-a-vis an organization. Now imagine they're placing you at par with a corporation which is vast, and a worker who is a tiny cog in the wheel of how the entire system operates. So while he is a very important cog in the wheel, the legislature has tried to place him equally with regards to an organization. I think which is what is most worrying.
To receive benefits under the scheme, a gig worker must complete 90 days on a platform within a year. But gig work is inherently irregular. Workers log in when they can, not on fixed schedules. And here is the critical issue. If a worker is blocked or removed on day 89, they lose all eligibility. No warning, no explanation, and currently no system to challenge the decision. Experts warn that under the 90-day rule, workers have little to no recourse if they are removed before qualifying.
They are being only told to pay 1 to 2% of their turnovers, and it is capped at 5% of the overall cost that they are spending on the platform or gig workers, right? Yes. Now, if you see a traditional employer-employee setup, these costs can go as high as 35 to 40% of their total employee cost. When it comes to PF contributions, when it comes to ESIC contributions, when it comes to gratuity and other expenses they're supposed to pay, including employee compensation, etc., the ballpark is around 35%. So imagine if you are able to take care of that ballpark in 5% capping, why would you resist? So they would not fight, and they would rather have a capping at this number rather than having an open-ended liability for them. And no major platform company has challenged any contribution mechanism in the court as far as I know and as far as the records go.
The Labour Ministry is now considering a multi-manager model where EPFO handles provident fund contributions and a separate fund manager oversees pensions. The scale of the scheme may be too large for a single institution. Platform companies are being asked to contribute 1 to 2% of their turnover to a central fund. But key questions around the policy design remain unresolved. Policy experts say the delay is not accidental. The law was always a framework without a clear implementation mechanism. So, 6 years later, what exactly is still missing?
The nature of gig workers in 2020 to 2026 has undergone a sea of change. Now, if you just look at it, a large number is actually data enters from India, not just in India or from the global south itself. There are a large number of data enters. So, in that sense, it was just a framework that the government came about with. There was no real mechanism which was laid out, and it also required coordination amongst state governments and the central government to come out with the basic structure in which it will be in place. And that's naturally has led to this sort of delay when it comes to formulation. I'm not in any way justifying the delay, but this definitely seems to have been one of the reasons why there has been a delay. And we should now use this opportunity to come out with the best possible structure to regulate gig workers, because it's now become the need of the hour. Given the number of people who are working and depending this as large number of them depend on this as secondary source of income, but the majority of them depend on this as a primary source of income, and it's one of the major employment generators in India. So,
looking ahead, experts say data transparency and a unified worker ID could be a game changer, but only if the system is designed for workers, not around them.
The Digital Data Protection Act applies to them in a manner that there needs to be a consent taken from them. Secondly, they also have the right to access their data. They also need to understand the summary of data processing that's done on the data. They also have the right to know to which third parties their data has been shared to. So there are a bunch of rights that's available to a gig worker by the benefit of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. Given the number of job losses that's happening, retrenchments that are happening in the sector, we should probably look at a unified employee ID, which will, or a unified worker ID, which will entitle them to various social benefits. So it doesn't matter whether I'm doing gig work today. I may be doing full-time employment, and in between jobs, I may be taking up a gig work. Why should I have multiple logins, multiple portals, multiple hoops to travel in? Which, in fact, look, there are studies which says that it creates large amounts of delays because these funds sometimes get stuck and lies in these accounts without these folks being able to use it properly. So have one unified platform, depending on, regardless of the number of backends that you have, give one unified design portal login ID for these employees to operate, whether they are a gig worker, whether they are a permanent employee, whether they are belong to the unorganized sector, where they can access all these social benefits.
Sometimes the reason for their disqualification from the platform are also very, very flimsy. If they are able to not deliver orders in a certain time, or if their average time to deliver a certain order is higher, these can become very, very flimsy reasons for the platforms to disenfranchise them. And then where will that person go, and what will be the redressal mechanism if he doesn't have the data before him? So data is not being very, very transparently shared with the gig and platform workers. So frankly, I don't think they have any redressal mechanism today. And even if they are able to prove, they ultimately have to go back to the platform who's unwilling to take them. Or even if they take them, their protection has gone by that time, since they were removed from the platform. So I think we've left them high and dry, because as on date, there is no means for them to actually go and get their grievances redressed, although the Act provides for helplines and redressal mechanisms, but I don't think that's operational yet.
Remember the big basket worker we met? He had a simple question. If the insurance I was promised didn't cover my hospital bill, what exactly was I covered for? The government scheme counts every gig worker, the full-time delivery partner who depends on his income, and the part-time rider earning extra money. But the law treats them the same. One needs protection urgently, the other may already have it through a primary job. Until the system can tell the difference, the right protection may never reach the right person.